Hello, my loves. Welcome along to our monthly meditation session. It is an absolute delight to be back, and I'm so glad that you found your way to our practice today. For those of you who have been around and maybe done some other practices with me, welcome back. Tonight we are going to do a really hopefully useful practice, which is one of our insight practices. So the idea with insight practice is that we're using the conditions of meditation. So we'll do a bit of our settling and grounding practice initially, but we use the conditions of our meditation to start to ask ourselves some questions, to start to open up some of the unconscious thoughts that are around for us, and see where it takes us to. And sometimes this can be quite an enlightening process. It can really bring things to the surface that maybe you're not aware of, things that have just been rumbling underneath the surface. If you're new to practice, if this is the first time that you've joined in with us, welcome along. My name is Karen. As you can see, I'm the owner and founder over at Zenzone.lanarkshire. I am a psychotherapist by trade, but I have an absolute passion for helping people to learn how to meditate and to use mindfulness in their day-to-day lives, because I think it's a fantastic tool to help us to just live happier, more fulfilled lives. So yeah, I'll sing my hymns on this to the cows come home. If you've not done any sort of meditation practice before, this is something that is definitely a good practice to start having a play around with. What you might find, because this is a development on a very basic level practice, is that you might notice that your mind wanders a lot during it. That's absolutely fine. We all have what we call our monkey mind, which means that our mind is designed to always be thinking, always be on. So when it comes to doing practices like meditation, what you can find sometimes is that people get a wee bit frustrated that their mind doesn't just stop thinking. That's not the purpose of meditation. It's not to switch those thoughts off. The purpose of our meditation practice is to notice those thoughts as they come to the surface, and then be able to work with them to choose how much we engage with them or not. So it gives us a lot more control over how consciously we live our lives and how aware we are of what's going on in our mind. So as I say, if this is your first time or one of your first times joining in, just see how the practice unfolds for you. Try and just suspend any sort of expectation of what it should look like or what you ought to be doing, and just see how it pans out. Now, for this practice, I am going to ask, if you can, grab a pen and paper, because if some insight comes through that might feel quite new to you or quite surprising for you, it can be really useful just to write it down, and not necessarily to do anything too invested with it right now, but even just to take a wee snapshot of a couple of words that have popped to the surface for you. So pen and paper for tonight's practice, and I'm also going to recommend that we do this as a seated practice. So some of the practices we've done previously work really well, like lying down, but because this one's more of a cognitive process, it's useful to be seated in an upright backed chair. If you're on something like me, I'm on a desk chair at the moment, you might want to pop a couple of pillows at your back just to help you sit up nice and straight. So with our meditation pose, if we're in a seated posture, what we want to be thinking about is feet on the floor, nice and flat, to help us to feel grounded. The spine should be nice and straight, so we're not straining in any sort of way, but we're not sitting slumped over either. So we want to be, posture nice and elegant, nice long spine, and just allow the neck and the face to become nice and soft and rested. So I'll give you a wee moment. Go and grab your pen and paper, perhaps get like a jumper or a blanket or something that you can pull over yourself, because with most practices you do find that as we settle into it, your body temperature just naturally drops as our body's having to work less hard. So get yourself organised. With any practice that we do as well, you don't need to be able to see me for the practice, you just need to be able to hear me. So I'll lead you completely through vocal cues. So if you're watching this on a phone or a tablet or something, you can pop it down to one side. Just make sure that you've got your volume loud enough that you can hear me as I'm speaking. Good time to get a cough. Okay, so let's take our posture. Let's say we're going to start with the feet on the floor. If you've got shoes on, I find it quite helpful to take your shoes off and just let your feet be on the ground underneath you. Excuse me. So just notice the contact of your feet on the floor below you. We're going for a nice elongated spine. And keep the neck and the head just nice and soft and relaxed. You might find it helpful to close the eyes over. But if that doesn't feel comfortable for you, for whatever reason, that's absolutely fine. What I would suggest instead is just take a nice gentle downward gaze. So we're not looking at anything in particular, but just find something on the floor or, in a nice low position that we can just let our eyes rest. I find we spend a lot of time on screens and, eyes are active a lot of the time. So start to just let all those tiny wee muscles round about the eyes relax. Unclench your jaw. Just let the tongue settle in the bottom of the mouth. We're going to take a wee bit of time here just to settle in grounds before we do anything different. So start by just becoming familiar with your breath. So I'm just inviting you to notice what your breath feels like in your body just now. I'm not trying to do anything with it, we're just simply becoming acquainted with your breath. So notice where you feel the air coming in. And notice the different sensation as you breathe out. And on the next inhale, I'm going to invite you to just lengthen that inhale slightly. So make a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, let the intention of just letting go be in your mind. So nice deep belly in breaths. And as you breathe out, just think of letting go. Letting go of anything that no longer serves you. Letting go of anything that you've been holding on to. Just take a nice couple of deep breaths like this. Now let go of the intention of doing anything in particular, so just let that breath return back to whatever a nice normal pace feels like for you. Notice how the body is starting to soften and relax. Notice the support of the surface underneath you. So perhaps feeling the chair on the backs of the legs. Weight of the ground underneath your feet. And the weight of your palms as they rest on your lap. Just allowing yourself to be fully present in this moment. And just trust that you are where you're supposed to be right now. And your only job is to be here. Everything else can wait for a moment. And as we enjoy this space of resting, just letting ourselves be held in the space around us. You might notice that the mind wanders off to thoughts or thinking, because that's what the mind's designed to do. So if that does happen, if you notice that you're starting to get caught into thinking, just simply notice it, become aware. And with the aid of our breath, just bring yourself back into this moment. So just tune yourself back into that breath again. You might find it helpful to count, so either counting the depth of your inhale, so counting in for 2, 3, or 4. And then breathing out for the same count, 2, 3 or 4. If breathing and counting doesn't work, you can also use phrases. So you might use the phrasing, I know I'm breathing in, and I know I'm breathing out. So just know that during your practice, if you wander off into thought, that's absolutely okay. We've not done anything wrong. You don't need to try harder. It's just what the mind does. So as soon as you become aware of it, focusing either counting the breath or using that phrase, I know I'm breathing in, I know I'm breathing out. So just rest here for a moment. And in a second, I am going to drop the first of our questions in. And as you hear the question, I'm going to invite you to just notice what your first response and reaction is. So we're not trying to think of an answer to it. We're just noticing what shows up when we hear the question. And if it feels useful, you can take a moment to make some notes, take a mental snapshot, whatever works best for you. So the first question that I'm going to drop in is, what do you need right now? What do you need right now? So take a second and just see what shows up for you. You can scribble some notes if it helps, so you can open your eyes and take a few notes. Perhaps just write down a word or two. And once you've done that, just pop your pen and paper to one side. Bring yourself back into posture. Connect back in with the breath. Let's just take 2 or 3 more grounding breaths. A nice big breath into the tummy. And letting go of expectation. Breathing into the tummy. And releasing expectation. One more breath like that. Nice deep breath into the tummy. And releasing expectation. Next question that we are going to drop in is, what does your heart desire? So what does your heart desire? So just noticing what shows up. Not seeking out answers, we're not trying to find anything in particular, we're just noticing what shows up when we hear that question. What does your heart desire? Again, perhaps pop a few words down. Take a mental note if that works for you. And again, just bring yourself back into your posture, back into practice. So the posture is always like a container for our practice. Closing the eyes over. Taking another few deep breaths. Again, releasing expectation. Just letting ourselves settle back in. Our third question that we're just going to drop in. It's what's holding you back? What is holding you back? So just like when we throw a stone into water, we can see the ripples. Just notice any ripples that occur from that question. What's holding you back? So bringing yourself back into posture one last time for our fourth and final time. We're just reconnecting into the breath, allowing the body to be soft but solid. Nice dignified spine. And allowing those breaths to go right down into the tummy. And our final question that we're going to drop in is, what do you feel proud of in yourself right now? What do you feel proud of in yourself right now? So again, just notice what shows up. Often we're very good at seeing the good in others, but not always so good at seeing the good in ourselves. So just be curious about what words float to the surface, what images come to mind, what sounds you might perhaps hear or become aware of. So what do you feel proud of in yourself right now? And again, just take a note, however you've been doing that. And once you feel like you've taken enough notes, when you've written down what you need to record right now, just pop them to one side for a moment. And I'm going to invite you to place either one hand or both of your hands just over the area where your heart would be. And as you do so, bring someone or something to mind that you feel truly grateful for. So maybe somebody that's in your life. It may be a skill or a quality in yourself. Whatever it is, just allow yourself to really tune into that feeling of gratitude. You might find a wee smile coming onto your face as you think about that person, that thing, as you recognise that quality in yourself. But just notice how your body responds to that sensation of gratitude. And whenever you feel ready to bring your practice to a conclusion, you can just simply open your eyes. Namaste. I hope that that practice has been a useful one for you. It's a wee bit different to what we've done before, but personally I love it. I find it a really useful one to just slow myself down a wee bit sometimes and get out of my thinking brain, because I think we're all very good at being switched on and, you know, doing 101 things at any point in time, but sometimes it's nice just to allow yourself to be still and see what shows up, see what it is that's lurking just under the surface. If you are a business owner like me, it can be a really useful one to do when you are doing any sort of review of your business. If you are doing your quarterly check-in, if you're thinking about your strategy for next year, you know, it's a good one to really just sit down and connect and drop different questions in about, you know, where do you want the business to go, or, you know, what's causing you frustrations in your world. So you can alter the questions as you want to, as you need to, and yeah, just see what it brings forth. If tonight during your practice it's brought up some things that are surprising to you or new, what I would really strongly encourage you to do is spend a wee bit of time when you come off here just doing a bit of journaling, just noticing what has come through for you, thinking about what does that mean in your world. You know, are there obvious things that you could be doing that would make a difference for you, or are there some things that maybe you're just starting to notice might need a wee bit of attention? And if that's the case, what does that look like? What time and resources can you put into this? Because I think it's really important that when we take the space to do these insight practices, that we also attend to whatever it is that shows up for us. So if I can be of service, if there is anything you want to ask or check out, especially off the back of this practice, please do pop me over a message. We usually tag my business page in the post for this as well. So yeah, give me a shout if I can help at all, and I will hopefully see you back here next month. Have a good time.